Hello, my name is Michael L. Jones. I'm a local journalist in Louisville, and I have a great passion for historical preservation. According to a recent survey, visitors to Louisville cited 5 reasons why they enjoyed coming to the city. Of these 5 reasons, 3 involved historical buildings. Fine dining, museums, and historical sites. Most of these attractions are located in historic buildings that have been preserved. While out-of-towners cherish our beautiful older buildings, locally we have not valued these distinctive structures as much. Fortunately, several historical landmarks have been saved and repurposed to serve new functions. Here are a few of these examples.
Think about Whiskey Row and all that has happened on Main Street. First of all, I think it's important to remember the precedent that was set by Preservation Alliance, a group that no longer exists, but did such stellar work back in the 70s regarding setting the tone for a new Main Street. Those buildings, many have forgotten where the Baseball Bat Museum is and the Fraser Museum, all the way up to where Whiskey Row is and beyond, were dilapidated, were in horrible shape during the 70s. And folks who do not understand the importance of historic buildings and their potential for longevity were ready to tear those buildings down. Preservation Alliance just have to give them a plug for having the vision and the foresight to begin turning attitudes around and finding monies to preserve those buildings. So they really set the precedence for Whiskey Row, where a decade or so later, folks were in despair over the seediness of the neighborhood. The buildings were always strong. The buildings were always had such potential. But there was a move to tear those buildings down, and the stewardship that was lacking in keeping those buildings intact really made a lot of people in the community believe that it was just time to bring those buildings down. But because of organizations like the Louisville Historic League, Neighborhood Planning and Preservation, which we founded in 2003, Preservation Louisville helped out as well. We were able to raise public awareness about the potential of those buildings and to let people in the community know that these buildings were endangered. And so it was remarkable the public support we had in the petition drive and the turnaround. What is even more remarkable is that buildings that some of the very people that wanted to tear down the buildings now speak about that strip in such high terms in terms of what it's contributed to the visuals of Main Street, the tourist industry. It's something we can all be proud of.
Colonial Gardens has been sitting on the corner of Kingwood Drive and Newcut Road since 1902, and it's very common for people to give directions in the neighborhood that say, hey, when you get to the corner of Newcut and Kingwood, you need to take a right at the big white building. But in all seriousness, when it came down to it, the thing that mattered most about saving Colonial Gardens as a historical landmark in this neighborhood, it was due to the fact that it has always been a community gathering place. Whether Colonial Gardens has been offering services as a beer garden or as fine dining or even Louisville's first zoo or the restaurants that are here today, the nightclub that was here for forever, it's always been a place that people come to South Louisville to gather. Colonial Gardens has a history all the way back to 1902 of working hand in hand with Iroquois Park and even later with the amphitheater too, to bring people out here to South Louisville and to be a part of the community. And one of the things that's really evident in this new phase of Colonial Gardens life is if you walk out and you look at the courtyard and the bricks that people have purchased in the courtyard, it definitely shows that people have celebrated history here in the past and that they are looking forward to having new beginnings, and they want Colonial Gardens to be a part. Restoring Colonial Gardens lifts the surrounding communities. The amenities that have been put here are very desirable for people living in the neighborhood and people living outside of the neighborhood. Something that's kind of interesting are property taxes. I live within walking distance of Colonial Gardens, and our property taxes went up last year. And in a discussion with the PVA, we were told that we live within walking distance of 2 historic landmarks, and historic landmarks are something that drive up the property value, and that was basically the reason that our taxes went up that year. So I found that to be kind of interesting, and it's definitely a source of economic development. The Underhills have created something very special in the space. They maximized the footprint of the Colonial Gardens property and didn't just give us one restaurant here. They've given us Union 15, they've given us Taco Luchador, Biscuit Belly, and then the forthcoming BA Colonial Gardens that we're very excited about. This was a wonderful opportunity for some of our local restaurants to expand, and it also created new jobs in the area, which is always a wonderful thing.
My husband and I moved into the Clifton Neighborhood back in 1997, and the neighborhood was a little bit on the dicey side. We were the stepchild of Crescent Hill, and it was kind of rough around the edges, but it was truly a gem. When my husband and I were looking for a house, we just loved the neighborhood, we loved the architecture, and we felt right at home. And when we settled in, I got involved with the Clifton Community Council, and the council has always appreciated the historic nature of our Clifton neighborhood as a whole, the whole neighborhood. In October 2003, after a lot of work by a lot of volunteers, we became a historic preservation district according to the city of Louisville. And as a preservation district, it's our whole neighborhood. 2,000 structures, and we look at our neighborhood as part of a fabric. And the important thing in our neighborhood, perhaps some would recognize, is being Frankfort Avenue. When Steve had asked me to say a few things about our success of our being a preservation district and to focus on Pope and Frankfort Avenue, I was like, well, where do I begin? The Hilton Tavern, the Champagnery, the firehouse, the barbershop. So we have a total mix a wonderful mix of successful businesses, commercial properties. Because the thing with preservation districts is we're not trying to put something into a mold and put mothballs into this building. We need to reuse, repurpose, and have those buildings become, in a commercial area, generate revenue. And so we keep the exterior, we keep the integrity of the building, and we keep the fabric of the neighborhood intact by being a preservation district. So the success of our Frankfort Avenue corridor in this particular location at Frankfort and Pope is because of the wonderful architecture, the wonderful buildings we have, and the wonderful commitment that we have of the property owners and the business people, and as well as our wonderful residents to be in the to continue to look forward to our future as a Clifton neighborhood. So.
Historical structures, once restored, increase property values, add tax values, are the best sustainable construction, are more attractive than most newer designs. Instead of viewing preservation as a negative, it should be championed in making Louisville a better place to live, work, and visit.